Hello, ladies, and welcome to the Beauty Shaman. So today I am in part 4 of a 4-part series with the wonderful Tamara Keefe, business and life coach. Thank you so much for joining me, Tamara.
Oh, thanks for letting me be here. This is really, really fun.
Okay, so in part 4, we're going to talk about owning your wisdom and your age. Ooh, it's a big one because people get so negative when they hit their 50s, right? It's like, I'm old, everything's falling off my body, it's terrible. So what do we want to talk about today? Why is this a subject you wanted to go into?
Well, I think partly because it is something that people dread, right? Um, I have children, one's 19, one's 15, one's 13. And, when I hit 50, they were like, oh, Mom, you're old.
Isn't that awesome? That's just so
Oh my
helpful.
gosh. And my mom is in her 70s. And you know what? In my 50s, she doesn't seem old at all, right? And I think part of owning our wisdom is just to own that age that you are, right? And we've had so many amazing experiences. We have learned so much. Um, I love actually that word senior. I mentioned this in another one, and the AARP card that you get and all of that. And we think of being like a senior citizen. I don't know what image you get in your mind, but usually it's not a flattering one, right? And yet, for me, as I think about that word, I think about when you're a senior in high school, right? What does that mean? You're the top dog, right? You're the one with all of the power and the information and the experience. And, the lower grades look to you even for a role model, for advice. And I think, especially as women, if we can own that role, if we can own our wisdom, if we can become clear about what we know and pass it on, I mean, part of that is what raises all of us up as women, right? Is when we have that tribe of people that are willing to share the wisdom and knowledge. And you know what, to encourage each other, not to say to each other all the time, oh my gosh, I'm turning 50, it really sucks, but maybe like, how's 50 awesome to you? I ask my friends that all the time and they look at me like, what? And yet, if I hold that space for them and I say, no, seriously, what's really great about 50? Most of them will say, I feel more empowered to do what I want, to share what I know than I have ever in my entire life. So
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think it is. Interestingly, when I turned 50, I was going through menopause, and it can be a little, a little horrifying, right? Like I gained like 25 pounds. I woke up one day and it was like I was 25 pounds heavier. And this is me, who is ex-international model, right? Like super anal retentive about my weight. And so I think that's why the universe went, guess what? You're going to gain 25 pounds because this is a great lesson for you. But other things like we start aging, whatever. And it was really, I got very discouraged. And I think what ended up happening now that I've kind of worked through all of it, I'm like, owning your wisdom and owning your age means I'm in my 50s. I'm not going to look like I looked then. I'm not going to be who I am then. And it's so good. I'm so glad that I don't have to be that little twig I used to have to be. And now I can like enjoy a burger. I don't know. I'm just coming up with gratitude, but also our wisdom and what I bring to the table isn't just, my appearance or whatever. I think for those of us who have been way too appearance driven in our life. So I love that idea of taking ownership of where I'm at now and how that has value.
And part of the value I think that we bring is value as women. Like we are uniquely wired to connect. We're uniquely wired to listen. We are uniquely wired to be more perceptive, oftentimes to be more curious, to have more empathy. And oftentimes we look at that for some reason as weak. I don't know why, because we know that's actually where the strength lies, is in being able to connect and be curious and be courageous. And as women, we're just kind of wired to be that way. I think also 50 or older, or whatever you want to say, life experience that you have, when you're willing to own whatever that life experience is and just be authentic about it, right? People know if you're being authentic. Right. And people know when you're trying to just fit in, adhere to some societal norm. And I think, honestly, people talk about technology all the time, and obviously we're connecting via technology right now. But I think there is, there's that downside to like Instagram and Facebook, where we only want to put out there like our most made up self. Like, we're not going to show ourselves looking like this, all the time. And I think what it does is it's such a disservice to all of us as women, because we set like this standard for each other that is external, right? You're not necessarily knowing that person, knowing their life, knowing anything about them. So then we begin to judge ourselves. You know what? Judgment shuts down wisdom. So when we are in a place of judgment, when we are in a place of comparison, wisdom is no longer present. And if you're living in that land of comparison, you are going to lose. You're going to lose. So, so.
I totally agree with that. And I think there's a huge focus in our society on millennial and younger. And so like when I go on YouTube and kind of see who's doing what in my sort of neck of the woods, as far as healthcare and health and wellness, beauty, that sort of thing. I mean, they're all in their 20s and 30s. And so it's easy for me to go, oh, okay, I'm not, I don't look like that, whatever, or I'm not in that same space. But rather than, I think what you brought up earlier about having, realizing you have so much to offer. And I think that was a big wake up call for me, realizing I actually have a lot to offer. I've done a lot in my life. I want to give to the people around me. Not I want to sit back and be stodgy and know it all. I want to give. I want to encourage, and I think if we all grabbed onto that empowerment, oh my gosh, like how much good can we do? We're in part 3 of life. Look at all we've experienced.
Well, it's an interesting thing, because I have people ask me to do things, right? Will you come and speak? Will you coach this group? Will you work with this individual? Will you work with me? And I have to tell you, I have always had like this immediate reaction is, I don't know anything. Isn't that weird? Like, I've been doing this stuff for 20 plus years. And yet I still have that initial reaction of, I don't know anything about that. Early in my career, I remember my daughter being really little. She's 19 now. And she said, Mom, will you come speak at my school about what you do? And do you know, I said, no. I said, no. I mean, we're talking like 3rd graders. And I said, no. And I think that's how we shut ourselves down, is we don't own what we know. I had an invitation recently, and it required me sitting down and actually writing kind of my curriculum vitae, if you would. Like, what is it? Who have I worked with? What have I done? What do I know? And it was painful, let me tell you. It took me weeks to kind of go through that. And it wasn't just the logistics of it, but it was kind of owning it, right? Like owning, wow, I did that, or wow, I did that. And when I was done, it was probably the first time in my life that I really could see what I had to offer. And again, that was so empowering, and I honestly got to see the impact that I've had. And I have been mostly mom, I'll tell you that, right? I have worked part-time and been mostly mom. I homeschooled my 3 daughters until high school. And yet I was able to still work and do what I loved. I was able to coach and consult and, work with people in corporations and personally. And so there was some way in my mind, even that mom wasn't worth anything, And I think as women especially, we need to look at what we bring to our home, what we bring to our businesses, what we bring to our relationships. And
absolutely. I love this, because I think if you in the audience, if you have children, it's, a lot of times we can think, well, we can diminutize what we've done in our life. Like, I was a stay-at-home mom, I think, for 7 years. And when I first started talking to you 10 plus years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I felt so defeated on my skills and what I could bring to the table. I look back, I'm like, oh my God, like I was like juggling a billion things. But at the same time, I think that happens a lot to women as we get to this age. Plus, we also know how hard it can be out there. It can be hard in the world, and we've experienced all these things. And I think that really sitting down, like you having to do that, was probably so great and practical. And because I have another business as a professional makeup artist, I have to sell myself frequently. And at first it was so hard. I've made up all kinds of celebrities. I mean, I've Hillary Clinton, Al Gore. I mean, I've got this huge list of people I've dealt with. And I could just prattle that off, but I like stammer. And it's like really owning those aspects. I'm much better now. I'm much more comfortable now. And I could just, I can actually do it now. But I think it really was hard at first.
Well, and I think we do each other a disservice by standing in that place as well. Yeah. Because, for example, I went to the University of San Diego last night. I live out here on the West Coast. And it was this gathering of like powerful, forward-thinking women who want a seat at the table, who want to have a voice. And there was this woman, and I was talking to her, and I said, so, tell me, what do you do? Why are you here? And the first words out of her mouth were, well, I've really been a stay-at-home mom for like the past 15 years. And her voice tone just diminished, right? And in that moment, in that diminishing of herself, it felt like there was a diminishment of motherhood in some way. Not that she meant it that way. And then she's like, I'm trying, I just got back into the workforce and the skills and part of me wanted to go like, man, you've been CEO of a household for that long. Like, do you know the skills that takes? And so we did have a little conversation about that. But I think it actually does all of us a disservice when we minimize what we know, right? I can't tell you how many times when I tell somebody, one of the things I've struggled with or how I don't feel good enough, it really opens them up to go, really? I didn't know anybody else felt that way. Or I didn't, being a coach, one of the best things is seeing people's potential more than they do, right? And I think as friends, we can do that for each other as well. As women, we can do that for each other. And I think that's part of wisdom, is recognizing what we have to offer and being willing to share that. Not just the good things, by the way. Not just the, oh my gosh, my kid did this or my kid did that. It's getting to be holiday time. I don't know when you're going to post these, but it's getting to be holiday time here now. And do you guys still get like Christmas cards with letters in them, and when we write our Christmas letters, it's about all the highlights of the year, right? And I open these and I'm reading these letters and I go, wow, I suck, right?
My daughter write them.
My daughter didn't do a study abroad. I'm not working on my next advanced degree, or like whatever it might be. I think when we're authentic, when we're real, when we're owning all of who we are and willing to share that, that's honestly when we're most happy, because we're not hiding anything. We're not feeling less than. We're feeling empowered and alive. And I know, Suzanne, you've had to do that in your career and in your life. And what has that done for you?
I think owning my wisdom, owning my age, and really recognizing my strengths and moving forward has, it's been an absolute huge life change. And I think this is sort of what I want to leave women with. And maybe you could have a sentence of, like practicalities here of what people could do, but it's absolutely altered my life, and it still alters my life. Having that level of ownership of what I'm good at. And I feel constantly challenged in it because it's not a natural gift for me to be in touch with that. Naturally I tend to be sort of, I don't think humble's the word as much as it's, just don't look at me, I'm fine. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of more just ignore me. I'm okay. Go away. So, but it's harder to step in the spotlight. So maybe you can say like a practicality for women watching.
Okay. First of all, the word that I would give you is hiding. hide, right? We're just like, don't look at me. Or maybe we want a spotlight that we're comfortable with. So
Right.
one of the things that I really want to encourage us women, me included, is to step outside of our comfort zone, because that's where we find our wisdom. That's where we find our strength. That's where we remember. We don't have to show other people as much, but it's where we remember who we are and what we have to offer. So we started this series with fearlessness. And so I think that's a big part of wisdom, is being fearless enough to step outside your comfort zone, right? And I want to add a second thing, if I could.
Go ahead.
And that is, sometimes people acknowledge us for certain things, like they say, oh, you're really good at connecting with people. I wish I could do that. And we just kind of go, oh, thank you, kind of thing. And I think what I want to encourage is even just write those things down, like, oh, they said I was good at connecting with people. You'll hear that 5 times and it won't be getting in. So let that in. So step out of your comfort zone, and then also let in the acknowledgments that you're getting.
I love that. That's great. And I think as women, we're very good at deferring compliments, but I think accepting them and saying thank you and taking that in and letting it make you feel good, I think is so important, especially as we're becoming fearless. So thank you so much for joining me on this number 4 in our 4-part series. Tamara, thank you so much for offering your wisdom.
Well, thank you. And this is such an important topic, especially today. So in closing, I know you were trying to close, but in closing, I really want to encourage us all to do this together, because otherwise we're kind of minimizing each other. So the more that we can maximize ourselves, we allow other people to do that as well. So
wonderful. Yes, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And ladies, if you would like more of Tamara, because we all want more of Tamara, please go to blueopal.com. I'll put it in the lower thirds and also in the credits for a complimentary 50-minute consultation from Tamara. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this. So thanks for watching The Beauty Shaman.